And welcome back to The Daily Trader, episode 5 of The Daily Trader Show. Today, we are joined by Sergio, or PepeMoonBoy. This is his handle on X. As you can see, he is wearing a frog mask, as I probably should wear one as well. But we are here to talk about his journey. We have been in his replies for a while. Wanted to get his story. He's talked a lot about his journey through the stock market with the Hood stock and some other financial stuff. Welcome to the show.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be talking with you all.
Yeah, we're glad to have you too. I know, first of all, me and Shark have been in your replies before in the past when at some points last year and this year too, when we see all your success that you've had. And we're like, please, for the love of God, be like the one person who realizes some of it. And you've always been really kind and said, don't worry, I will. And it's been good because you're one of the good guys from what it seems. And we've been pulling for you, and we've really enjoyed seeing, all the good stuff that's going on. So kind of walk us through like how you got started with investing and kind of what it's been like this last year.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And your guys' support has been awesome. I mean, the community in X is honestly something that I never imagined it would grow into this. This is my first real year on X. So seeing the support and just the knowledge and experts all over the place has just been incredible. But how I got into investing is a little bit interesting. So I got into investing when I was in high school about 16 years ago. I got E-Trade at the time, went in and started seeing a whole bunch of YouTube videos on, I forget his name, but it was a penny stock trader. And he was touting, having made millions of dollars selling penny stocks. And, I didn't know much about investing, but I loved money and I loved making money. So I was like, you know what, let me try this. So I started getting into penny stocks and was making zero money. I was losing money. And for a high schooler and then college kid trying this out, I mean, at the time, Robinhood didn't really exist. So we were having to spend like $10 per trade on commission. And to me, $10 was like 10% of my portfolio at the time.
Yeah.
So, trying to make money on penny stocks was almost impossible. I lost pretty much everything. And, I took a step back from investing from there. I wouldn't even call that investing. That was just my introduction to what the stock market was. Then I went to college, and that's when I decided to pursue finance, right? Everything revolves around money. So I said, why not get a degree that is based on the study of money? So got my finance degree, was a little more intrigued in the markets after that. And, Robinhood came out. And when I saw the app, the thing that really attracted me to it was just the simplicity of it. So when I was using it, I was like, oh man, I can, and not only that, right? The commissionless trading, that was huge for small guys like me who had no money. So I started trading on Robinhood, started doing some research around certain stocks. And my first year investing, like actually investing, I put in pretty much everything I had earned from my first job out of college. At the time, I had saved close to around $17,000, and I lost it all. I threw it into a company called IKEA, who I thought was going to be the Netflix of China. And, it was completely wrong, my thesis. And it was a huge learning lesson, and I lost everything doing options.
Wow.
So took a massive step back. Honestly, I did not touch the stock market for a very, very long time. 2020 hit. And, I had some money in the stock market, but very little. I would say about like 10% of my net worth, which is just terrible looking back. And when 2020 hit and the whole market crashed, I was like, oh, I'm so smart. I was so right. I'm so glad I never invested. And, everybody knows what happened after that. The market went into the biggest, pretty much bull run it's had in history, aside from one of the ones this year. And I was uninvested. I had taken out all my money. I was scared. I had panicked, and I had nothing in the market. So I didn't reap any of the benefits. Now, fast forward a little bit to 2022. That's when I really started diving back in. I had started to accumulate a lot more cash because of my job. I do IT sales, and the commission checks, I was just throwing them into the market. And I started realizing very quickly that the stock market is rigged, right? All the billionaires and millionaires, they all have their money in the stock market for a reason, because if you pick good assets and good stocks, they continuously go up. So I started to catch on to that, started realizing what these good companies are, right? Who is leading some of the main trends in the world? Who is leading some of the technology revolution? Started throwing my money into these companies and just letting it sit. And over time, it started growing and growing and growing. And, now I am where I am today, and it's been a great run, and I'm I'm super blessed, very thankful.
Well, it's been cool, and I know there's been a lot of it's been cool to watch, and there's been a lot of stories that have kind of started off similar. I mean, I feel like everyone I've talked to in the last few years, and they've all had a moment where they've lost either all of what they initially put in or most of it. And I was told to call that paying tuition. And sometimes you're like, man, this is like more tuition than like actual tuition. That's a lot of money to lose. But you come back from it smarter with more market knowledge. And it sounds like that's kind of what happened for you. I mean, what was from that point on, like in 2020, what was your biggest winner from that point? Like what's kind of carried you to where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. It's been two things. So believe it or not, Pepe, the meme coin, was a huge accelerator for my investing journey. When I got back into investing in 2022, I was buying companies like Nvidia. I was buying Robinhood. I was buying AMD. I was buying these companies that still hadn't had their shining moment. And Pepe was also one of the things I bought. I bought it very early. I was actually one of the first 5,000 buyers of Pepe. Yeah, I mean, it would have been great if I held, but of course I never held all of it, unfortunately. But those were some of the things I bought. But what has really gotten me to this point, I would say, is Robinhood. Robinhood has been a huge growth factor for my portfolio. Massive.
I remember seeing it in late 2022, early 2023, where it was under $9. And the chart was like a chart that I had dreamed of, where it's like that lower kind of basing. You can just tell like it's gearing up for a run. And I think that was at a time, and I wanted to ask you about this too. That was at a time when people were kind of still, not happy with Robinhood because of all the AMC and GME stuff. How did you see past that sentiment? Because it was pretty strong for a while. Like, how did you still see past that and know, like, hey, I still think this is going to be a really good company?
Yeah, for me, when I see things like that happen, I try to just think like every company, especially companies that are newer, trying to disrupt an industry, they're gonna have moments where they make a mistake or things don't go to plan. No company is perfect. Everybody has speed bumps along the way. So when that happened, obviously it sucked. As a matter of fact, I was somebody who was not a benefactor, right? I also could not sell some of my stuff. I had GME, I had Doge at the time as well, and I had some issues selling. But for me, what really helped me look past it is I saw what they had done. They had introduced commissionless trading. They had introduced a very simple UI that I had never really seen in a stock brokerage. And I could just see that, Vlad, who's the founder of the company and the CEO, his vision was very different. He was targeting a different generation. And for me, when I see somebody disrupting an entire industry like that and really focused on changing how things have been done historically, no matter if it's a old industry and just coming in, trying to do it completely different, that to me is very attractive in an investment. And the main thing was I was using Robinhood every day. I could see how great of a product it was because I loved it, So to me, some of the best investments are the ones that you actually use or buy the products, right? So
Right.
That was the main reason.
Well, and I mean, when did you first get into Robinhood? Like, was it around that time when it was, under $10, or were you a little bit later when it first started moving strong, or how early was your entry for that? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah. No, I don't. If you follow Max, I post it all on there. So
I was gonna say, I don't think you mind.
Yeah, I don't hide anything. My first buys, I believe, were at $17. So yeah, really I never was buying in the $10 range. I was more in the $17 range.
It's crazy too, because it's one of those stocks where I can already tell. I already am looking back on it and think, how in the world did we miss that? Like for years, it was like, okay, if I could go back in time and buy one stock, it would be like Yahoo back in the day, or Amazon. Robinhood is definitely in that category. So, like I said, I've watched your journey on Twitter. I mean, you've only had an account since January. I got to find out how to get more followers like you do. I guess I just need to make $1 million. But that's really cool. I can tell a lot of people are pulling for you as far as the success that you've had. Have you found that the sentiment with regards to those screenshots, like how well you've done, has it been more like, has it been mixed? Has it been more positive? Has it been more negative? Because I know you have people out there who are probably jealous. What's it been like to see the reaction to that?
Yeah, when I started this account, I had no idea it would get to what it's become. Like I look at my username, right? My handle, it's PepeMoonBoy. I probably would have done something more finance focused if I knew it would grow like this.
Yeah.
Seeing the support has been tremendous. I would say it's been mostly positive feedback from the snapshots I post, right? Because a lot of people, I think they like the transparency. They like to see that I'm posting not only my wins, but also my losses. And I'm also showing when I'm buying, when I'm selling for the most part, what I'm buying, why I'm buying it. None of what I do is financial advice. It's purely me documenting my financial journey because trust me, I don't think I'm even close to a great investor. I think I'm a decent one, but I'm not perfect or anything like that. So I make tons of mistakes. And as you can probably see from some of my tweets a couple of weeks back, I fell into human emotion. I sold some of my stocks during the downturn, right? Like everybody has these emotions. Everybody reacts different. I'm not perfect. So I'm just documenting it in the hopes that people learn from it. And I think people are receptive to that.
I think people can relate to that, or that's like the stuff they want to see because there's a lot of accounts on Twitter that pretend like they know exactly what they're doing, and then they don't ever like post the actual money they have in the game. But you've got a pretty genuine feel as far as your account goes. I wanted to ask you too, like given how well you've done, has there ever been a moment? I know crypto Twitter likes to kind of always be on the lookout for everyone's too euphoric, everyone's too happy, like everything's about to go down. Have you had to battle with your emotions as the account has grown, or has that been easier maybe than most people might think it would be?
That's an amazing question. It's been difficult. I'll be completely honest with you. It has been difficult. I'm seeing right now, I think my account is at like 1.1 million, and it's more money than I could have ever imagined getting to in my first 3 years of really focusing on investing. I wasn't planning for this mentally. And now that I'm here, it's been a challenge, right? Because I just had a baby, which, by the way, congratulations to you.
Thanks.
That's amazing news. You're going to love it.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
but yeah, I just had a baby and I'm starting to really think about the future a little bit more. I'm starting to think, with all the things happening around the world, the geopolitical environment, the economic environment, and things that are happening around things like AI. I'm just trying to position myself in a manner where I have a limited risk or less risk, but also some upside. So it's hard. It's hard to really know what that balance is.
Yeah, I can imagine too. It must be hard just to know, like, okay, well, if I sell it all, like, what if everything keeps going up, or or if I keep holding, what if I lose it all? So, I know Income Sharks and I have talked in the past too. It's like the more you have, like, it does tend to eat away more at your happiness. Like you're actually more stressed going on. You're more stressed in that situation. I mean, do you feel like you're more stressed overall now than you were like when you first started?
1000%.
Mhm.
I and for me it comes from I'm the kind of person that tries to do a lot of things at once. It's not
Mhm.
great. Sometimes it can be great, but it's not great sometimes. And I own rental properties, for example. And while trying to do that, while trying to invest, while trying to manage a job, while trying to manage your family, it can become a lot. And if anybody takes anything out of this, I would say pick one thing, do it well. Don't try to do a million different things. That's why I'm trying to sell my rental properties, truthfully. So just focus on one thing, and at the end of the day, we're all kind of winging it. Just try to figure it out.
It makes sense, and I feel like a lot of people will lose sight of that. Like if they had a lot of success, like you do, they can lose sight of like what's really important. But I wanted to ask you this too: like as you've had success, as the account has grown, do you find yourself taking more risk, or are you like, since you have like bigger positions or more capital to use, do you find like you're taking on more risk now than you were initially? And like how does that work in your mind?
Yeah. I would say I'm taking a little bit less risk right now.
Mhm.
Some would argue after they saw my Meta purchase yesterday that completely tanked, but um, I think I'm trying to do less risk at this point, right? I'm starting to consolidate my portfolio into 5 to 7 to 10 companies that, no matter what happens geopolitically or economically, I'm happy that I'm sure that they're gonna go up long term. Some of those being Nvidia, Meta, Hood, Bitcoin, my pillars, right? My stronghold. So yeah, I'm trying to de-risk a little bit for sure.
I know last year I had a good run with trading crypto in November. I went from like $1,000 portfolio to about 50 unrealized, and I only realized about 16 grand of it. So because I realized I started upping my size in positions as the portfolio value grew, which is not good risk management, and ended up kind of biting me. And so like I hope people don't make that same mistake, and because that's a really quick way to lose the gains that you've already gotten. So like I said, I've been watching your account and I feel like you're not falling into that trap. So I think that's good to see. If there's someone out there watching or listening right now who's like, man, I feel like I could do what he did, what would be the first thing that you would tell them?
I would say if you want to do something like this, you need to increase your income. I talk about this a lot, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that I was able to achieve this because I had a lot of capital to play with. Like I said, I do IT sales. IT sales commission checks can be very, very large, and they can give you a lot of capital to work with in your investing journey. So I would say, number one, focus on increasing your income. Once you have a really good amount of income coming in, obviously be investing and learning how to invest throughout that. But as you increase your income, it's going to increase your chances that you're going to make more money in the stock market. You have more capital to play with and grow with.
I think you've got a lot of people now who have been bamboozled by the market the last 2 years, and they're down to like their last few chances, whether it's $100, $1,000, depending on their position size. And they want to go all in with that one last swing at the ball. And then when it doesn't go well, they get upset. And I know I've kind of found myself in that position too. I was like that last year. But like, you've said it just now, and other people have said it too. When you have a steady income that you can keep, replacing or funneling into these investments, you don't have to worry about, okay, what if I go to zero? Because like you have something else to replace it. So that stream of disposable income to put it in there is very important. I can vouch for that as well. But what's your process now going forward as we look into the end of this year and then to 2026? You've achieved obviously a huge goal, and by the way, congrats on the baby. So I didn't say that earlier, but I meant to say it. How will your strategy change, say, into 2026 compared to what it has been like maybe the last 18 months?
Yeah, so I am starting to allocate more capital to some of those big names I mentioned to you, right? Because I do feel long term they're just going to keep going up. They're the juggernauts of the IT world. But I'm also putting some money into gold. I'm putting more money into Bitcoin as well. And I'm going to start funneling some of the money into ETFs like VU or SPY or QQQ. Probably just VU or SPY at this point, and maybe some dividend stocks. I'm starting to look into that as well. I've never really dabbled in dividend stocks much. But then next year also, right, if you have these big stocks like NVIDIA, AMD, Meta, all these guys, you can also sell options on them. So that's what I'm going to be doing next as well. I'm going to be doing a lot of option selling, try to produce some income with what I already own, since I am holding for the long term.
Gotcha. One thing I know I've always thought of, like when I dream about if I ever made as much as you have or other people have, like if I ever reached the fantasy number, I feel like at least at this particular point, because I don't have it, I would put a lot of it into just a money market or even just hold it in cash on Robinhood and earn 4%, because then I've created my own flywheel of just money from money. And then I can do whatever I want with that. Do you ever think about maybe at any point, I'm not saying you should, it's your money, obviously, but like, have you ever thought about during the last year or so, like, oh, if I just took a huge chunk, parked it in here, earned interest, I could just have that and then earn more disposable income from it?
Yeah, no, I definitely have. And you know what? I have another account where I do that somewhat. I do have some cash that sits and accumulates APY. But I'm fairly young right now, and I do believe that while you're young, you do need to take risk. Yeah. So for me, holding those bigger stocks that I mentioned earlier and selling options, yes, there's risk to it, but I think there's a way to do it conservatively where you're not putting too much at risk. So it's a balance. So to answer your question, and with a long answer, yes, I'm trying to do that as well, right? Put in cash to accumulate APY as well.
I think you've done a good job. Like I said, I know I've read the replies from when me and Income Sharks have jumped in there and been like, make sure you take some out, whatever. Like no one ever means to sound like the nagging parents on X, because everyone else usually just like screaming at you for having money in the first place. But like I said, we've always kind of wanted you to keep doing well, and I'm excited that you have done well too. So as far as like if you could, I don't know how to ask this in particular, but if you had, like, you've mentioned the big tech plays going forward, but are there any plays out there that maybe people don't know about that you're like, I have my eye on that, or anything else you want to share with regards to maybe smaller investments?
Ooh, that is
it's not smaller investments, smaller projects that you're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I haven't really, I was looking into smaller investments for a bit. If you've looked at my Twitter, I've been posting different posts asking people for advice on some small to mid cap stocks that they're going after. I haven't found one yet that I'm completely bought in on, so I'm kind of sticking to my main players. I would say one I've looked into barely, so don't take this as advice or anything like that. CCCX on the quantum side of things. Looks like they're doing some interesting stuff. I have a very small position in that. I've looked into companies like Root, right, that do car insurance, and they do it a little different than the average car insurance company. What they're doing is essentially tracking your driving behavior using AI and machine learning, and then giving you a quote or price around that. So I think it's a way to disrupt a very traditional industry, and they're doing it in an interesting way, and they have good financials. So I have a small position there. I'm trying to think, who else do I have that's smaller? I had some Oscar at one point. I sold out of it. They're doing some interesting stuff as well. But yeah, I really rotated out of a lot of my smaller to mid caps for now.
Gotcha. Well, it's great info. Like I said, it's good to actually get to chat with you here on the show. Like I said, I have thoroughly enjoyed watching you on Twitter. It's been great to see someone have success who's one of the good guys, which is what I can tell you are. And here, before we wrap up, I like to ask people, first of all, I mean, you mentioned your handle earlier, the @PepeMoonBoy. We know that we can follow you on there. Do you have any other accounts that you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, this is really my only account. Yeah, PepeMoonBoy. If you want to watch me be hopefully making some good moves in the stock market, then I post everything transparently there. And just to answer your last question, I forgot one key stock that I do have some pretty good conviction in, and it's Nebius. I don't know if we talked about that one yet, but Nebius is, in my opinion, going to be huge in the future, right? They just did a $20 billion contract with Microsoft. And they're basically the AI infrastructure backbone. And I think they're going to continue growing in this new world we're in. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate the platform. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. And this has been great.
Yeah, well, no problem. And Sergio @PepeMoonBoy, y'all can all follow him there on X. And we thank y'all for tuning in. This has been episode 5 of the Daily Trader, and we will catch y'all next week.